And now keeping our focus back to Tirupati Stampede, well, 6 people have died and 40 were injured in a stampede in Tirupati as hundreds of devotees rushed to get their tickets as soon as the counters opened for Vaikuntha Dwara Darshanam at Lord Venkataswamy Temple on Tirumala Hills. The situation was peaceful at every other counter except one at MGM School, said Tirupati Municipal Commissioner Maurya, adding that around 4,000 to 5,000 people rushed at one time to get their tickets leading to the stampede. Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu will be visiting and meeting the victims of this stampede. He has said and directed higher officials to reach Tirupati and take required relief measures and to provide better medical treatment. He said he is also taking and talking to the district and TDD officials to take stock of the situation. While Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that his thoughts are with those who lost their loved ones. My colleague Sam Daniel, who has been covering this story since 6 a.m. to this morning that we were live with it for the first time. Sam, take us through how this tragedy unfolded. What are the corrective measures that authorities are taking and when are we expecting Chandrababu Naidu to arrive?
Well, we come to you from the Rama Naidu School at Baigari Pettada in Tirupati, the ground zero for the stampede where 5 people lost their lives. In fact, this school was used as a holding point where more than 2,000 devotees waiting to collect their tokens for the upcoming darshan as part of the Vaikuntha Dwara Darshanam were waiting. In batches, authorities were letting them to go outside so that the gates would be open at that point in time and they can go and join the long queue outside this campus. The stampede happened exactly here when one of the devotees actually fell ill. She had a health issue. She sat down here and police had to open the gates to help her get out for medical help. At that time, hundreds of people who were gathered here, whether knowingly, deliberately, or thinking it's a good opportunity to get out to join the queue there, they all rushed in one go through the little space after this gate was open. And that led to a stampede and 5 people died here. And this is where the other barricaded area is, where the people who are let out in batches would join the queue in this barricaded area so that they can go to the next point to be able to collect the tokens for the darshan. And here is where another lot of people were waiting to stand in a long queue so that they can go to the other side of the counter to collect their tokens. The temple authorities, Tirumala, Tirupati, Devastham authorities say 90 such locations were put up so that more than 1 lakh people could wait overnight or through the day and collect their tokens. And this raises several questions because family members of those who were killed, totally 6 people, 5 here, another lady in another location, they say that number one, there was not adequate deployment of police personnel. There was no effective crowd control in terms of regulating the crowd. Thirdly, after the stampede, it took a long time for them to get the ambulance to rush the injured people to the hospital. In this case, it took 20 minutes. The district collector said enough number of police personnel were deployed. There was adequate regulation. At every counter, the district administration says ambulances were deployed. But because of the heavy crowd, it took 20 minutes for the ambulance to reach the spot to be able to take the injured people to the hospital. Ultimately, 6 people have lost their lives. Several tough questions are being raised in terms of crowd control, in terms of police deployment, in terms of adequate measures put in place to ensure quick access for ambulances. Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu has ordered an investigation to find out what lessons ought to be learnt. As we speak, he is expected to visit the hospital around 15 kilometers from here and then to visit the place where the tragedy took place. Both Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi have expressed their condolences, have wished those injured a speedy recovery. The big question, of course, is would anyone be held accountable for the loss of 6 lives and would any lessons be learned at least for the next time when this kind of a need arises for devotees to be issued tokens for darshan at this world famous temple.
Sam, tell us how, the aftermath of that situation. How are the arrangements now for the devotees? We are seeing that long queues are again at the token counters. While these tokens are available online, what are the officials doing about the offline token counter situation now?
Well, as far as the upcoming darshan is concerned, as part of the Vaikuntha Ekadasi darshan, they had more than 1 lakh tokens to be distributed, and authorities say everything has been given away already. So for this season of this particular darshan, which starts tomorrow, there is no need for any more distribution. So there is no change in strategy or implementation of a new system for this season, at least now. But this has to be had in mind for the next season or for any other celebration or congregation of such large number of devotees for other festivals or occasions, so that the lessons learnt in this can be implemented. One option many suggest is an online system. But the flip side of that is many say those who are not tech savvy, those who don't have a smartphone or a computer or access to internet, or those who are from rural areas who are not yet tech savvy, they would be denied this opportunity for a darshan at this temple. So in a sense, to democratize that kind of an opportunity, to make it also possible for people who make it a point to come in person and collect it, they've done this kind of an arrangement at 90 different locations. But this has happened at one particular point in this school alone. That's the big question. Certainly, many lessons ought to be learned. A thorough inquiry would reveal whether there was any negligence. Did authorities take enough safety measures, and did they really think in terms of all possibilities, surging crowd and things going out of control? Those are lessons to be learned, and they have to make sure these can be put in practice, at least for the next time.
Right, Sam, and while you're at the location, take us around exactly how many people could have gathered there, and if not letting that, as per the official reports, that the woman was let out and then the stampede happened. If that case could have been avoided, how well the crowd could have been managed at this place? Show us around how many people were there, and also how well this situation could have been handled by the officials.
Tanima, we are on this school campus, the Ram Naidu school, and this stretch you see here and the open area on both sides, this was used as what the police calls as holding area, because they did not want the entire crowd to go and stand in the barricaded queue, because that could lead to more congestion and chaos. So they, in a regulated fashion, first made people to wait in this holding area in batches. As tokens were distributed, they let them in batches outside the campus, so then they can join the main queue between the barricaded area and then go to the next point to collect the tokens. Here at that point, the collector says there were around 2,500 people, and exactly here, one of the women devotees waiting, she fell sick, she had a health issue, she sat here, and it was at this point the authorities decided to open the gate so that she can be taken out, she alone can be taken out for medical help. But at that time, whether call it unruly mob or mistaken notion that the gate was open for others, the crowd, authorities say, surged through this gate, the gate which was open just to let the lady out. And it's here that at that point, that surge of people at that moment led to the stampede, killing 5 people here. But this is the other arrangement authorities had made, the barricaded long queue, where in batches, as the tickets were issued, as the line clears, the next batch would be let through the gate here so that they could join the line here in an orderly way. So the arrangements wise, in terms of arrangements, it's good. But in this case, authorities pointed only because out of turn, they had to open the gate to let the lady out. Whether it was an unruly mob or is it they thought it's
Crowd was there.
a genuine opportunity, a turn for them to get outside. They all rushed out and that had led to a stampede.
Right. And, take us through the further details of the order, that inquiry that has been ordered in this case by Chandrababu Naidu. What how the probe will take place, and so far, what decision has been made by the security officials and the administration there?
Well, while it's clear an investigation has been ordered, at the moment I'm not ready with information in terms of the terms of reference or in terms of the composition of the investigation team. But the sum of the order is that lessons ought to be learned and lapses, if any, in that ought to be identified and action taken. This is largely maintained or handled by the TTD, the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam Board, and police are summoned or requested for help. But after the inquiry, the facts with respect to the kind of crowd that had gathered here, the situation in which the gate was opened that had led to a stampede, the police deployment, the kind of regulation they were into, whether there was any kind of negligence or complacency by the police, because the family members who lost their lives, who we spoke to, they say there was no active control of the crowd. The police were standing as spectators, but they did not really actively regulate the crowd. In terms of the ambulance, they say it took 20 minutes. So these are tough questions and ought to be probed in a very scientific and factual manner so that action can be taken, accountability can be fixed, and more importantly, this can be used to avert a repeat of this kind of a crisis in the future.
Absolutely, that is the major focus, that accountability should be fixed and certain events should not take place in future. Thank you so much, Sam Daniel, for joining us with that detailed ground report.